This is your Chargers linebacker, Dayan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning into the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, talk to me, sir.
Welcome back, friends, family, children, adults of all ages.
Feels good.
Feels freaking good to be on talking Chargers football live with Chargers fans worldwide.
Why?
Jake,
Prestige,
talk to
prestige.
me. How are you, my friend, before we get to the chat?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. It's good to see your face as well. It's good to be back on here, as you mentioned, talking Chargers football. Dan, we are about a week and a half away from rookies reporting to NFL training camp, specifically for the Chargers, obviously, which brings up the very important question as it relates to today's show. Have you gotten your tickets to see Spider-Man?
Don't kill me. No.
I think the whole show just got torpedoed. Thanks a lot.
Dude,
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate
I
it.
got 2 kids 4 and under. You think I got time to go see Spider-Man by myself? Yes, you out your damn mind.
Make time. Make time, sir. I'm kidding.
Do you have your tickets?
I got my tickets. Yes, I did. The wife and I got tickets. And we got a sitter
bringing a
for our
little
daughter. We got a sitter for our daughter. Dan, priorities.
Whatever. Okay.
Anyways, the real reason we are here and gathered on a Wednesday night is with training camp just around the corner. Dan and I wanted to get into a very fun topic because honestly, this could go however many ways you slice it. Biggest X factors for the Chargers. Would love to get everyone's opinions on this because I'm sure there's going to be some low-hanging fruit as far as certain players goes, maybe some repeats as far as some players that we've had for breakout seasons, topics that we have discussed in weeks prior on this show. But would love to hear everyone's opinion as we got to go through this because we actually have a good handful of X factors for the Chargers this year. And maybe that is just a microcosm of how deep and how talented this roster actually is. So it should be a fun conversation over the next hour plus or so. Dan Wolkenstein, are you drinking anything?
No. And actually, I was thinking about it as I sat down. I was like, rookie mistake. I got no libations of any kind.
That is not you.
I might try to text the wifey and see if she can give me like a Kona or something.
Door-to-door service.
What about you?
No. So I can't really say anything.
Say, take it back, my friend.
So I can't really say anything.
In the chat. Feeling good today. Answer this in the chat. What was the best part of your day? What was the best part of your day? Let's have some fun with these intro questions from now on. Start with that one. In the chat, let us know. Jake, what's the best part of your day?
Best part of my day? I would probably say the most exciting atmosphere. So in my office where I work, we have a very big screen in the lobby. And you best believe it was on the World Cup game this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
And so in front of that screen, there's actually like a bunch of bleacher seats that are right there. It was packed. I had never actually seen this many people at our work actually taking the time to sit there. And even like our managers were like walking by and being engaged. And I was just getting off of a call on the other side of the building. And I heard everybody just go nuts. So I had to come out and see what happened. So it was right when Argentina tied it up at 1-1.
Oh,
I literally walked back to my desk and I hear all those people erupt from what happens from Argentina scoring the second goal. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was kind of a nice little disconnect for about 20 minutes at work today.
I will say, I got a good friend of mine down here that is a big England fan. And for 85 minutes, I was real excited to text him. And then for the following 10, I was like, oh no, he was in his feelings.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was in his feelings for sure.
Oh, no.
That was brutal. See some of these comments, Jake, before we talk about our friends.
Best part of the day, leaving work.
Yes, I was going to say, leaving work.
Best part of the day, leaving work. That's right.
Honestly, I'm more on this vibe. Coming home for a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs. Give me that. Yes. Honestly, Chipotle sounds banging right now. Jersey Mike's sounds banging right now.
Stop talking, Dan.
I'm so hungry.
Just shut the hell up.
We already got questions in the chat. We'll get through these. And again, so to set the stage, biggest X factors. And again, that can be taken a multitude of different ways. And Jake and I are actually going to take that a few different ways. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but I think you kind of took it as more just the biggest X factors for this team. Not named Justin Herbert, because obviously Justin is the biggest one.
Of course.
I kind of went a different direction, and mine were more tailored towards maybe ones that are a little bit overlooked or underrated, but linchpins to the success of this Chargers team. So in the chat, let us know what you're thinking as we go through here. But second question, I guess I'll ask is, who is the most underrated X factor on this Chargers team? Jake, while we give folks a chance to answer that, let's talk about our friends. Let's pay some bills to get some betting lines. Let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel.
We may be in the offseason, and football, we're all aching for it to come back, but the betting does not stop for the NFL, even in the offseason. And FanDuel gives you plenty of ways to stay in the action with NFL futures. One bet that the Chargers fans should be paying attention to, rookie defensive lineman, edge defensive lineman Akheem Mesidor is currently sitting at plus 1,400 odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. If you believe that Mesidor is ready to make an impact and become the next breakout star for the Chargers, now might be a good time to get in on that action before those odds start moving. So make sure you use the promo code ChargersLAFB over there at FanDuel for your chance to win, and let them know the Chargers Unleashed sent you.
We got some questions already in here. You mentioned Akheem Mesidor. TNT says Mesidor will be Rookie of the Year.
Bold prediction, but I like it.
I kind of like it too.
Dan, before we get into X Factor, because if you go back to the thumbnail for this episode,
yes,
I assume I know what the answer is to this question when I ask it to you. But are you watching X-Men 97 season 2?
No.
That's all right. I knew that was going to be the answer.
You set yourself up for failure there.
I'm not going to give you a hard time. I just needed to throw it out there because that's kind of where, on top of X Factors, that's kind of where the inspiration for this image came to play. So X-Men 97, some good shit in season 2 for sure.
Shout out to Jake Hefner on the use of AI and such for these background images.
I didn't expect it to come out looking like that. I was like, damn,
sick. I'm like, we're on to something here.
Somebody upgraded the ChatGPT machine a little bit. That was like exactly what I wanted. Thank you very much.
All right, in no particular order, some of the folks in the chat, we've got some of your answers here. Shaggy says going to the gym.
Yeah, that's my type of people.
TNT says Marion will have a breakout year. I think everyone's bullish on that one. Charles also did a couple of PRs today at the gym. That a boy. Where'd you guys go? If our rookie tackles look good, should Pipkins be traded? Short answer, no.
No.
For the price, no.
I understand why people might think that way, but let's not forget what happened last year. And the rotating door that was the entire offensive line, essentially.
Yes. In your opinion, who will be the starting left guard in week 1? Hint.
How about
it
a
will
steaming
be
bowl of foreshadowing? How about a steaming bowl of foreshadowing? We'll talk about
question. TNT asks, will McDaniel have the strongest offense this season? I don't know how you define strongest, but like best in terms of, I don't know, points or yards or whatever. No, I don't think so. But I think it will be drastically better than it's been.
Agreed.
Period. All right. In no particular order. You ready to get going, Jake?
Let's go.
All right. Number 1 we have on this list might be a bit of a surprise to some. Jake, this is your man, so I'll give you the floor first. One Quentin Johnston just picked up his 5th-year option weeks ago. Boldly and solely in wide receiver 1, 2, depending on who you're talking to. Obviously, there's Ladd. But if the trajectory continues for Quentin,
and you can even make an argument to say, like, okay, Trey Harris belongs on this list for X Factors for sure. But I know that we did talk about him as a breakout candidate. I think that that's It might just be a little bit of rehashing, a little bit of low-hanging fruit, because I'm definitely bullish on Trey Harris. But I'll tell you what, man, year by year, Quentin Johnston has gotten better with Sanjay Lal as his wide receivers coach. And we've heard the clips of Mike McDaniel and other offensive players talking about Q this season. I think the potential for him, again, going back to what he does best, and maybe Mike McDaniel is an X factor in this conversation alone as far as how Quentin Johnston's going to be utilized in this offense. Because if you really go back to it over the last 2 years, Quentin Johnston and a Greg Roman-led offense, while it was in the right direction, you still always kind of think of wide receivers hitting that year 3 mark to say, like, okay, that's really the year that they have their stride. And honestly, I think Quentin Johnston, for what he did last year, even in an offense that looked anemic at times, mainly because of the offensive line and the scheme that was running and what the Chargers were, let's just say, limited to as far as what they were. If you open up the playbook of a Greg Roman and you take the playbook of a Mike McDaniel, I mean, just look at the potential as far as what can be created for the talent that you have. So Quentin Johnston, I definitely think, is an X factor in this conversation. You heard Jim Harbaugh talk about, just a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about minicamp, he said, he believes that they have 3 elite wide receivers, talking about Ladd, talking about Quentin, talking about Trey Harris. There's a lot of belief in this wide receiver group as it currently stands right now. And trust me when I say, I believe that it's very versatile as far as what Mike McDaniel wants to do with them this season for Justin, what's going to benefit him. And I think that you're going to see a great step from Quentin Johnston this year in terms of how he's going to be utilized. I think there were things that he extended to himself and his game. Maybe so to the point where we weren't thinking about it as far as to say, okay, Quentin Johnston is not a downfield threat. There were times where he stepped up as a downfield threat. Mainly what the damage was that he did was doing it over the middle and making those similar type of plays that we saw him at TCU, oddly enough, against Michigan just a couple of years ago in college football. It's what he does best in terms of being able to create those mismatches, creating space. 2 years ago, we were talking about guys who couldn't beat man coverage. Quentin Johnston was in that conversation. I thought he did a much better job this year. Again, is it where we want or where we expected Quentin Johnston to be at this point? No, there's been some valleys that you've had to go through before you've gotten to those mountains. But I think in this particular type of offense, with Mike McDaniel at the helm, I think it's a great setup for what Quentin Johnston can be as far as a new style of a weapon in terms of production goes for himself and for Justin Herbert.
Okay, so I'm going to not push back, but I'm going to ask for clarification. So yes. Breakout, sure, maybe. Integral part, I think so. But define, when we say biggest X factor, when I think of biggest X factor, I think of like biggest reasons for this team to either succeed or fail. Mm-hmm. And so would you have him in that category? So like, for example, Quentin Johnston, heaven forbid, has a crazy slump this year or whatever happens and he's not great. Will that affect this team's ability to win football games and go deep in the playoffs?
See, this is what you're going to find out in this conversation because the Chargers are really stacked when it comes to offensive weapons. The good thing about it is that going to like make or break the offense in the same way that we would have said, the Chargers offensive line last year was the reason that their offense completely collapsed. And I think that virtually everybody would agree with that. It's not in those same type of arguments, but in terms of what element for what this offense is going to be and with corresponding player, in this case, Quentin Johnston, can take it to a different type of a level. Because I still have Trey Harris as my breakout star for the wide receiver group. I think he's ready to take that next step. He's going to get a number of elevated snaps in this offense for the fact that Keenan Allen's not here. But I think that Quentin Johnston, we're going to see the best version of Quentin Johnston that we have seen so far since he's been with the team.
So moving on, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. This might seem like low-hanging fruit. And, I mean, it kind of is, but it's also evident by what we saw last year, quite literally, one of the biggest X factors for this Chargers team is these two dudes. And again, it's not just any left and right tackle, but we're talking about like the gap between all pro and last year well below average to terrible tackle play. Like that delta is massive.
Huge.
And at times, the crazy part was Joe Alt still in with Rashawn Slater out, kind of held it down a little bit, right? But when they both were out, hell broke loose. And so this one might seem a little obvious. And it is obvious, right? This is like a tier below Justin Herbert, right? But like it's still up there. But if these guys are not there, just like Justin, right? Like if both of them are not there, in my opinion, wrap it up. Period. Like you can give me Mike McDaniel offense, you can scheme it up. It doesn't just affect protecting Justin. Like it blows up everything.
Yep.
And maybe another player in the offensive line might be helping a bit, but there's a reason why Rashawn Slater is the captain of this team. There's a reason why Joe Alt was selected over some of those bona fide superstar wide receiver guys. Like, you saw their worth this past season when they weren't there, more than when they were. And so, Joe Alt got a Pro Bowl nod after like 30 seconds of playing time last year, it seemed like. This is an obvious one. Jake, what else you got for these?
I mean, you want to talk about how much the Chargers missed these two. This was from Mike Clay when they had released the offensive tackle rankings that they've been putting out over the last couple of days. Joe Alt had landed number 9. Rashawn Slater got an honorable mention vote because obviously he didn't end up playing last year. But when they both were not in there, the Chargers finished with a win rate of 53.9 in pass blocking efficiency, and 31st in run blocking win rate, 68.9. That's how vital they are to the team. So to Dan's point, yeah, no kidding. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater being healthy for this, upcoming season, which is still they're ahead of schedule, I think is the best news that we could possibly hear right now as far as the work that they're doing. But they have the potential. I actually think it's a great chance for the end of this season. If they make it the entirety, go to the playoffs and stay healthy, there's no question in my mind that these two make up the best offensive tackle tandem in the NFL. You'd have to make a strong argument for me if these two go the entire season together and you see the result when it relates to not just how this offense moves, keeping Justin Herbert healthy and upright, that you can say that there is a better tandem that's out there. And if there is, it's an extremely short list to make an argument for. But that's how much this bookend tackle of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater mean to this offense.
All right, we're getting into what, again, these are in no particular order, but this next one is one that people might not immediately think of when they talk about like the stars of this Chargers team, right? But in terms of what will make this team work and what will make it hum on defense, there's a reason why they went out and spent the first round pick that they did on this guy. And it's because of how important this position is to this defense. And I don't know why, but I keep trying to share the screen and it will not let me share it for the life of me. It keeps going away. There we go. But Akheem Mesidor. And you might think, okay, well, what about like Khalil Mack? What about Tulio? Obviously, right? Like those are obvious guys, and we could put them on any list. But I went, again, in this situation, I went underrated and maybe overseen at times. Last year, we saw what the Chargers defense looked like when Khalil Mack was on IR. And we saw the Chargers defense look like when they just had 2 guys rushing the passer. In come Odafe Owe on the trade, and the defensive line pass rush completely transformed. Completely. And so, am I saying that Akheem Mesidor is going to be edge 1, edge 2? No. But I'm saying that this edge 3 position is a bona fide X factor for this Chargers team entirely. And last year was a perfect example of that. There's a reason why they drafted this kid Like, he is NFL ready as you can be. His floor is far higher than guys who were picked above him at this position. But he's the definition of an X factor when you consider what this position means to now Chris O'Leary.
Oh, was that my cue? I'm sorry, Dan.
Take it.
You were gonna. Thank you. No, it's in the same mold of what how Jesse Minter wanted to use 3 edge rushers for him. Like, you better believe, even with Chris O'Leary at the helm, that you're going to see Khalil Mack and Tooley get kicked inside on certain packages to have all 3 of these guys out on the field. But Akheem Mesidor absolutely should be in the conversation for X factor, even as an edge 3, utilizing him because there's so many things that he does well. It's not just a one-trick pony situation with him in terms of getting after the quarterback. It's what he does against the run. It's how he gets after the quarterback. He has so many weapons in his cachet to get there, not just from the standpoint that his motor and stamina are fantastic, but his handwork, his power, I think, is extremely undervalued when it comes to how he utilizes it as a pass rusher. So in terms of being a guy who you're bringing in as a first-round pick, and again, I will say this repeatedly, I do not care that Akheem Mesidor, by all standards, is in his mid-20s. Don't care. Do not care. The fact that he gets to learn from one of the best pass rushers to ever set foot on an NFL field, and in this game today in Khalil Mack, you get to pair that with Tooley, and essentially for the next 5 years, you get Akheem Mesidor polished, pro-ready, in his prime as a pass rusher to take you, through the next 4 years, in the days when Khalil Mack is no longer on this team. Fine. I'm not thinking about Akheem Mesidor's second contract. What he's going to do to impact this team as a third edge rusher this year, and how he's going to impact it in years to come as the number 1 or number 2 guy next to Tooley, you have to be excited about it. And the power, agility, pass rush, and IQ as a pass rusher, not only to set the edge, but get after the quarterback. I don't think enough can be said about it. Just wait till you see what he is going to end up doing on the field. You've already heard the players and the defensive coordinators talk about how impressed that they have been with what he has done thus far and his work that he's put in, not just out on the field during minicamp, but in the film room as well. So you have to be excited for Akheem Mesidor, what he's going to add to this group in general. For at times last year, you could have thought, okay, it was a very top-heavy edge group, and maybe there wasn't anybody beyond the 3. I think you're going to see a little bit more than that, and I think Akheem Mesidor is going to be a big part of it. So in terms of keeping that same type of Jesse Minter scheme together, Akheem Mesidor is going to be key to making the defense go because of how he's going to be utilized.
Okay, let's get to some of these questions you have in the comments from the Chargers fans out here. Eddie says, Dan, Jake, will Eric Rodgers be the Benjamin St. Juice of our Bolton 2026?
First of
I'll let
all,
you take that one.
Love the praise and hype for Eric Rodgers. Let's talk about it for a minute, because I think that both Eric Rodgers and, more importantly, Nico Reed, who I think actually has the first crack of taking the Benjamin St. Juice mantle over, I think both of these guys are going to make an impact for the secondary. I think both of these guys, for the production that they put up last year in the preseason, and for Nico Reed specifically, what he did in spot check roles during the regular season, they're a big reason why you haven't seen the Chargers go out and sign a cornerback in free agency, didn't draft one in the draft. I think they love what they have in these guys. I think the Chargers are going to keep about as many cornerbacks as they kept last year. Again, a big deal from the standpoint that Eric Rodgers had that breakout game in the second preseason game, injured himself on the last play, and still ended up making the final 53-man roster. The Chargers knew, and more importantly, most likely Steve Klinkscale knows, what he's got in a big-bodied cornerback in Eric Rodgers. So I'm excited for both of these guys. Do I think it staves off the opportunity for the Chargers to possibly sign another cornerback as we get closer towards like the end of preseason? No, I still think that's absolutely a possibility. But in terms of what Eric Rodgers and Nico Reed are going to do, I both think that they're going to get an opportunity to take over those reps from Benjamin St. Juice, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Nico Reed or Eric Rodgers will take the Benjamin St. Juice role specifically. I probably lean more towards Eric Rodgers just because of the frame. But in terms of like impact on the team, yeah, I think both of those guys are due. X Factor says Gasman329 is Derek Carr is the Bolts' new super fan. You see some people just talk so much stupidity about Justin that like sometimes it's like people got to put people in check a little bit, and like the stuff he's saying isn't even like hyperbole. He, like, yeah. Did you hear the Phil Simms, Matt Money Smith episode?
Yes,
Phil Simms was on one. He was on one.
When is he not? Honestly, when is he not?
Fair. Jake, I'm curious to see where you go with this one. There's a running back on this list, and to my surprise, it was not Amari Hampton. So I'm going to give you the floor on why Keaton Mitchell is an X factor this season.
Yeah, I don't think that it's past anybody's mind as far as the excitement for Amari Hampton, and putting Keaton Mitchell on this list as opposed to Amari Hampton is no slight to Amari Hampton.
Of course.
I think that Amari Hampton is tailor-made with a revamped offensive line and coming into this season healthy for a breakout season. And he was one of our breakout candidates that we listed just a couple weeks ago. But Keaton Mitchell coming into this team, you saw how quickly the Chargers pursued him when it was notified that he was getting released from Baltimore.
Seconds.
I mean, literally seconds. Keaton Mitchell's even talked about it himself, how quickly the Chargers messaged him in free agency and their desire to bring him in. Keaton Mitchell, I think, is going to end up, by the end of this season, taking that RB2 spot. And again, that's not even a slight to that's not even a slight to the rest of the running backs that are in the stable. I just think for what he brings to the game and how Mike McDaniel loves to utilize speed, that's a big factor for what Keaton Mitchell has. And the Chargers have not had that type of an element in their backfield in so long. So long.
That's where it hits it for me.
I think when you find those packages that Mike McDaniel is going to have in terms of getting those screen passes more involved in the game. Remember how much we were clamoring for screen passes in a Greg Roman offense? And it felt like it would go on like a month and a half or two until we'd see one, and then you wouldn't see one again for like 6 weeks because they never ran anything like that. And not to say that they didn't have anybody capable of doing that, because they did, but you just never saw anything called for something like that. So Keaton Mitchell, Mike McDaniel, from play caller, playmaker standpoint together, Keaton Mitchell, I think, is going to be a huge X factor for the Chargers in the run game, specifically on how he's going to be utilized on some of those, whether you call it third down packages or screen packages or however you want to dial it up. But damn, if he's able to break out into open field, you've already seen what he can do to opposing defenders. Leave him in the dust.
Yeah, I am not comparing Keaton Mitchell to Tyreek Hill in terms of skill set or in terms of skill or production. But what I will compare those two similarly is kind of the exponential effect that they have on opposing defenses, or that they could have on opposing defenses, purely due to what they could do, not what they will do, but what they could do. And you see Tyreek Hill all the time. Like, he causes so much friction in defenses because of his speed and athleticism and explosiveness, where he could take the top off of literally any defense. So underneath receivers are open all day long because they've got the safety up top, making sure nothing gets above them. The Chargers have not had this type of player on their team, to your point, in a minute. And then you add in a Mike McDaniel offensive coordinator who thrives with these types of players while also thriving on the running game in general. Having him as kind of a backup to Amari Hampton, where not like Amari Hampton's slow by any means, but they are two different cats that you got to scheme for very differently. And so having him in the backfield as an option for Justin will purely open up things by itself, let alone the explosives he can bring to a Chargers offense. And Jake, for years, literally since Justin was drafted, I have been clamming for easy buttons.
Oh, yeah.
And I see it over the NFL so often. But yet, so hard to come by for this Chargers team. Keaton Mitchell, to me, is an easy button that was injected into this Chargers offense. So, yes, 100% agree with you. I think his fear factor alone brings him up to an X factor. Not like he's more of an X factor than Omari Hampton, but in that mold, 100%, he's an X factor.
Keaton Mitchell is the one that stands out between Omari and Hampton and Kamani Vidal. And it's not saying, is Keaton Mitchell better than them? It's not saying that at all. But you put that speed factor into it, it's something that the other two just don't have. Dan, last year, Keaton Mitchell led all running backs with an average speed of 12.5 miles per hour when crossing the line of scrimmage. That's the type of burst that he has when he finds the open hole.
When crossing the line of scrimmage, that's crazy.
When crossing the line of scrimmage. Like, there's bursts that we've seen from Vidal at times, and obviously from what we saw last year from Omari and Hampton, you could see the burst when they were able to get out into open space. But Keaton Mitchell just has that different gear that he is able to find. And you better believe from Mike McDaniel, coming from a guy that he coached up in Miami with Devon Achane, who has that similar type of breakaway type speed, that he's going to do everything that he can to find ways to get Keaton Mitchell open in similar type of ways.
Now, in the same mold, sort of, as the Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, I think you can't have this show without bringing up this next guy, who is arguably the biggest free agent addition for the Chargers team. I don't think it's close, honestly. We don't have to recap how atrocious this offensive line was last year. Like, we all know. I mean, I'll just say it. Historically bad. They were historically bad for many reasons. And talk about a force multiplier addition. And when I go back to like my definition of an X factor of who can be that variance between a win and a loss and who will make the biggest impact on them being good or not being good and how much that affects this team's ability to win.
Yep.
He might be just as high as Alt and Slater in terms of if he is great or very good, he will be an insanely impactful player for this Chargers team and arguably top 3 most impactful players to the Chargers offense, period. Justin's up there. One of the tackles is up there, and he's up there. He makes the center position better, obviously. He helps Justin with calling. He helps with the guards play. He helps everyone. And then, oh, by the way, a Keaton Mitchell, right? Omari Hampton. Find hole, run through. Like, let this guy get to the second level. Mike McDaniel handpicked this guy along with Cole Strange because of the system and because of what he's able to do athletically. And so for me, I know we're not ranking this list, but other than the tackles, I think he is the biggest X factor of this entire Chargers team, not named Justin Herbert. Because the way I think of it, if for some reason he's terrible, that's bad news for this Chargers team this year, period. But if he's great, winning football games is what he's going to do for you.
Yes. And that's the big part of it. And here's the interesting thing. You don't necessarily have, and this is, I guess, where you kind of give Tyler Biadasz a little bit of levity, is because it's not that big of a bar to clear when we're talking about Bradley Bozeman being the center last year, obviously. Like, you'll take anything better than that as it relates to center production. However, Dan, some people agree with you, because I remember the article that came out, I want to say it was either May or just before the draft. It was from ESPN. They ranked Tyler Biadasz as the best offseason move that the Chargers did. Not Mike McDaniel getting hired, not any of the free agents that they not any of the other free agents they brought in, but it was specifically Tyler Biadasz. And let's remember how this was done, because it was literally done with days to go before free agency started. Remember everything as it relates to the Tyler Linderbaum contract situation and how everybody was going to be buying on Tyler Linderbaum. And the Chargers came in because Biadasz had just been released from the Washington Commanders I want to say just a couple days before, maybe a week before. And just before free agency drops, in the middle of the night, people were still sleeping when Tyler Biadasz had gotten signed, when the reports came down. It was such a savvy move to do right before free agency starts. And then you see the market for the center just go berserk, to where you look at where Tyler Biadasz comes in and ends up getting essentially a steal as it relates to financially
compared to like
the rest of the
Linderbaum.
players.
Yeah.
Yes, compared to what a Linderbaum got or some of the other top centers got in the market. But Dan, I go back to what you were talking about, and this is really kind of becomes the framework of what we've understood Mike McDaniel, what he's looking for his offensive lineman, is that plus athleticism. Tyler Biadasz has that in terms of what he's able to do athletically, the ability at times to get to the second level. You see that a lot from the profiles of what we've seen Jake Slaughter do, even as a center. But in terms of what he's able to bring athletically to an offensive lineman, there's a framework there. We may not understand completely the method to Mike McDaniel's madness, but especially when it comes to offensive line. But this is the reality in which we live in right now.
So people are talking about Cole Strange as potentially should be an X factor, and yes,
it's a fair argument. Fair argument.
But I will 10 out of 10 times say Tyler Biadasz is a bigger impact on this Chargers team than the left guard or right guard. I think Tyler Biadasz is a force multiplier. The center position itself is a force multiplier, and the guard position is not, in my opinion. But along that note, we do have a guard position on this list as big as X factor. And unfortunately for us, we have no idea who it is.
The wild part is this is literally 4/5 of the offensive line that we were essentially labeling as X factors. So it just goes to show you how bad the offensive line was last year, to say like, oh yeah, no shit. If the offensive line holds up and is able to stay healthy and as a, formidable starting unit, then of course they're going to be X factors. You could make an argument literally at any position for the Chargers offensive line, and it's a viable argument to say, yes, X player can be an X factor.
We don't even know who the starting left guard is going to be. We can project.
I don't know if you can even I appreciate, Dan, you creating this slide because literally this is fair. I still think when all is said and done that it's Jake Slaughter that gets the starting job. And it's a big question mark in general to say how that transition is going to go for him to move from center to guard in this particular type of system. But again, we go back to what really made him win over the Chargers brass for what they're looking for in their offensive linemen. It's because of their athleticism. It's because of his knowledge and football IQ, his ability to pick up those stunts and blitzes. Even as a center is going to benefit him at the left guard position. And just like you had mentioned.
I agree, though. I still am like, it's tough to do that for any guard going into the NFL from college. But for a player that hasn't really played guard, even if he's like athletically gifted and he has all the traits to do so, I just hesitate to say that he's just the dude week one. I agree with all of the reasons why you like him and why I think he will be eventually. But I just think we have to kind of temper expectations a little bit here on Jake Slaughter. Just a little bit.
That's why this is probably a tangent slide. This is biggest question marks of 2026. Left guard.
Sure.
Yes. But is it also kind of one of the biggest X factors? It could be. It could be.
So, could it be Jake Slaughter? Maybe.
It could be Dan Wolkenstein for all we fucking know at this point. Who knows?
It could be Jake Slaughter. It could be Trevor Penning, who I know this Chargers team likes at guard, who didn't get a chance really at guard because they needed to tackle. I'm just saying. He actually wasn't that bad at guard. Okay,
I'm giving you my opinion without really saying much.
Okay, no, you're saying enough. Trust me. Could it be Awasika? Could it be Coyote? I think right now he's got experience. He's done it before. He's impressed some folks. So to me, though, Cole Strange is kind of a known commodity. Oh, God. Chupacabra farts. My cat is an upgrade over what we had at center last year, and he's lazy AF.
This is the reasoning for messages like this, are the reasoning for why we put Tyler Biadasz in this conversation.
Yes. But whether it's Jake Slaughter or Penning or anyone else, like, it's an X factor. Like, imagine if you got Biadasz playing well, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater are there cooking. Cole Strange is doing his thing as he's expected to do. Again, we're not expecting moving hell or high water for Cole Strange. Like, give me average. And I was blasted for talking about this for the last few years of like, I don't need an incredible center. I don't need an elite guard on left or right side to go with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt and Tyler Biadasz. Like, I don't, just give me average with those dudes. And we will be cooking with gas. So, like, am I expecting Cole Strange to be balling out this year? No. I'm expecting an average guard. That's what my expectations, that's what my hopes are for him. If he can be better than that, great. Just don't be worse than average. And we'll be fine. You'll be fine. Gaffman 329. I think Penning will start the season at left guard. Slaughter may take it over later in the season, but Penning has the traits that McDaniel wants. True. Don't forget, like, he, for as much shit as he got at being a tackle and a bust in New Orleans, that year they played guard wasn't terrible. And I'll take not terrible as a guard for this Chargers team, considering what I've seen these last few years. And if that is better than Cole Strange, is better than Jake Slaughter, like whatever the combination ends up being, like, sign me up. Sign me up. Electric Shock Pod. Hey, welcome. Hot take, Travis Burke for guard, Jake Slaughter for left guard. I mean,
first of all, could you imagine?
I was just thinking.
Let's just say if you're on the defensive side of the ball and you're looking at that offensive line left to right. First of all, it would look kind of like it would just look like it'd just be ascending left to right. Because just having Travis Burke and Joe Alt stand next to each other in an offensive line is terrifying. Just to kind of see it like gradually ascend upwards from left to right would be nutty. Again, I'm excited about the future of Travis Burke. Do I think that he's going to be inserted into the starting offense with the exception of an injury? I don't. Do I think that he's going to be a valuable piece for you as far as a backup tackle with a mean-ass attitude that Jim Harbaugh absolutely loves? 100%. You want to say that come next year, he fully has a grasp on, the Trey Pipkins or the Trevor Penning role as far as, your quintessential backup for your tackle spots? If Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are not able to go out there and compete, 100%. And I think it's valuable depth that he brings to the table. But he's just an ass kicker. He's got the attitude that you love. Do I think that you are going to see some heavy packages with Travis Burke at some points in the season? Yeah, I do. And that will be fun to watch, especially if you put him on the same side as Joe Alt. But when the Chargers go heavy and you bring in, an additional one or two extra offensive linemen, fuck yeah, I would love to see Travis Burke get in there and put someone on their ass.
Josephius Broseph. Matt Money Smith has been really bracing us for Slaughter to be a bust at guard. Has he? At guard, from what he's seen in OTAs, for Money to be so hesitant on a pick speaks loudly. I have not heard him say that he's a bust or that he's bracing for him to be a bust. Like, let's not put words in folks' mouth. Let's keep it real here. I think what Matt Money Smith has been alluding to has been it takes time for college guards to become NFL guards, at least most of them. And while Jake Slaughter has all the physical traits to be Christmas presents for Mike McDaniel for years, there's still a transition. And so I think what the hesitancy from Matt Money Smith, again, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I know he did not say that he's a bust or expecting a bust from Jake Slaughter. But expecting him to be like a great guard week one, I think that is where the hesitancy comes. Again, I'm not speaking for Matt Money Smith, but like that's what I would guess. Which honestly, like I agree.
Again, I have nothing against anybody who has questions about Jake Slaughter, whether it's about the selection, how the Chargers want to use him, position transition, anything like that. I understand the reasons. Am I more bullish on Jake Slaughter? Yes, I am. Have I seen him play at guard? Obviously not.
For all the right reasons. I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
I just think that if you were to I know that the track record of guys making that type of transition is very slim for ones that have actually come in and be successful for it. But I think that he has the tools to do it in this offense with this offensive coordinator and this offensive lineman.
And these tackles and this quarterback.
And that's why I have more belief. If you were to tell me that this was still Greg Roman and Mike Devlin's offense and offensive line, I would have expected the Chargers to probably take him as the center, and Tyler Biadasz probably wouldn't have been here, and we'd be living off in a different universe. But in this particular type of offense, because we know what Mike McDaniel likes from his offensive linemen, that's why I have the belief that we're going to have success out of this ultimately. Is it going to be seamless? Absolutely not. Are you going to have some flubs and, you're going to face some peaks before you reach those mountains for sure. But I think eventually it'll end up playing itself out. And I do agree with what some of the people have said here. Long term, when Tyler Biadasz isn't on this roster, that Jake Slaughter immediately comes in and is your new starting center for sure. But for now, I'm intrigued and excited to see what he's going to do at the left guard spot.
Oh, same. I am too. I think I'm cautioning folks on like what their level of expectation is for him at left guard this season. Like if you're telling me I expect Jake Slaughter to be an average to above average left guard this season, I'm like, yeah, that's probably where I would put him as a rookie. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. But electric shock pod, playing center is advanced math, maybe in calculus, playing guard is basic math and comparison. So I think it'll be fine. I agree. I think it'll be fine. I also think it will take time for him to figure it out. It might be basic math, but you still got to learn it. So I know we're kind of going a little long on this one, but I think it'll be okay. Now, next one on the list, Jake, and this is actually, I'm combining this into one visual, Jake, because I found this kind of interesting. I bet you if you put this visual up and you said there are two linebackers who made this list, do you think folks would be able to pick which two they were?
I think that they would absolutely get one. Absolutely get one. The other might surprise them.
So let's talk about the one that people obviously would know and might pick would be Dayan Henley. In the chat, who would be the other one? I'll talk about him next. But Jake, floor is yours with Dayan.
I think when you're talking about X factors as far as what Dayan Henley brings, what we've seen him bring previously, take what you saw from 2025 season. Still isn't that bad. Is it in comparison when you're looking at stats year over year? Was it a down season for Dayan Henley? Yeah, you could look at it like that. But in terms of, there were so many things personally that Dayan was going through last year. Obviously, he had the Michael Jordan flu game, which was in retrospect a high point for him for how crazy he went out and balled under those conditions. But I think in Chris O'Leary's defense, especially for how much he utilizes his linebackers and how much responsibility he puts on their shoulders, I think it's no question that, especially again, if you're looking at this group entirely as a whole, if we're talking about biggest X factors out of this group, he leads it easily leads it. There's no question to me how much the middle of the field would be impacted if he's not part of this list.
Fair.
Dan, you want to take the other?
Yeah. And this one, I don't think is that much of a question, but maybe it is. But I'm putting Rashawn Phillips on this list. And yes, you can talk about his special teams. You could talk about how he was snubbed last year for the Pro Bowl. We could talk about how invaluable he was last year. But I feel like this team is kind of banking on him being even more valuable this year to the linebacking core. And you saw them put him in later in the season as that. They brought him back. They gave him a little bit of a bump in salary. And if we're being honest, Junior Colson, do you expect, again, I'm not saying we're not going to be hopeful, but are you expecting him to come in and be an X factor on this team? You can hope for it. Are you expecting it? No. Marla Wax, are you expecting it? No. Hopeful? Sure. Troy Dye has been a great glue guy, honestly.
Absolutely.
Like he has outperformed, I think,
100%.
most people's expectations for the majority of his career as a Charger. Denzel Perryman, we love him for what he's great at. But for things that he's not great at, and for his health tenure, someone's going to have to step up in this group. That's not Dayan. That's not Troy Dye. As a linebacker. And that's not even putting into account the special team stuff. And so for me, he was already invaluable in an X factor, just special teams alone. But then you look at what this linebacking unit looks like right now. And I said this when we went through like the roster breakdown. To me, this group, I'm not saying it's bad, but to me, this group in totality might be the biggest question mark of any position group on this Chargers team, offense or defense. Corners, safety, edge, defensive line, wide receiver, running back, offensive line. I think this is the biggest question mark of all of them. But if you see a glow up from Rashawn Phillips at linebacker, yes, please.
So, I mean, somebody stepped up to be the special teams ace last year for Ryan Fitkin. Rashawn Phillips answered the call. And when it comes to special teams, there's some question marks about certain moves that were made, at the beginning of the season, especially, that really kind of impacted them. It didn't feel like the typical Ryan Fitkin-led special teams that we had seen over the last couple of years. But as the season went on, players like Rashawn Phillips stepped up in a very big way for the Chargers. Go look at the Cowboys game and how much Rashawn Phillips impacted it. Huge. And I wanted to answer another question real quick. Thank you, Dan. Let's keep this in mind, because as we're kind of breaking this down, and this will go more into the bigger picture of like how the 53-man roster is ultimately constructed. Last year, the Chargers only kept 4 linebackers when it came to building out the 53. Junior Colson was put on IR prior to the season, so they didn't need to worry about a roster spot. But the linebacker group at the beginning of last year, for those that remember it, looked very different than the way that it ended last season. So what do you do? Because Junior Colson, yes, has not gotten a chance to really contribute to anything, which is a big disappointment in itself, given the fact of his familiarity with his defense, obviously being a Jim Harbaugh type of selection for the time that he spent with him in Michigan. And there were so many expectations for Junior Colson coming out of that linebacker group, and he just has not been able to put it together, more specifically because of health.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'll raise my hand. I had him being a massive contributor, as being like the biggest impact of the entire class that was drafted. Yeah. And he just was hurt. I mean, but long story short, TLDR, I was wrong. Health is irrelevant for sure, but he has not met expectations.
This could be an elongated question and a topic for a different day, but how much time? Because if it does come down to a similar type of decision, let's just say, God willing, Junior Colson stays healthy all the way through training camp, and it comes up to 53-man cuts. How much time does he have to be able to prove something. To me, there's no important preseason more for any player, arguably, than Junior Colson. Because I could honestly see a situation where, depending on the rest of the guys that we have talked about on this roster and guys that you have seen step up, and especially when it comes to how much we know special teams goes into making some of those last 2 to 3 roster spots and making final decisions, that's going to come into it. Again, do they keep 4? Do they keep 5? I personally think that in totality, the Chargers are going to keep 12 defensive backs between corner and safety.
Which is crazy.
You got so much talent along that defensive line. You know what? You've got an edge. Dan's right. I mean, this is the biggest question mark as it relates to the defense. Not only in talent, but how many do you end up keeping when push comes to shove and you need to make a roster spot? It's a big-time decision.
And how many are worthy of keeping? When you just stack rank how good those players are compared to the other guys on the bubble. Again, topic for a different day. Bold take, Junior Colson becomes comeback player of the year.
Would love it.
Would love it.
Shoot your shot. I would love to see this come to fruition.
Hot take, our linebacker room will lead all linebacker rooms in interceptions this year.
That's bold.
Yep. Do or die year for Junior Colson. Yeah.
It is.
Everyone knows it. But if there is a defense for him to succeed in, this is it. We're wrapping up here. Got a few more names. I'm curious if anybody that we have not said so far that folks have been talking about. But this one probably falls in the line of obvious, maybe under talked about. And this might be because of like the value that they're getting him at as well, but also like what his position means to this team.
Oh, yeah.
But Donte Jackson as CB1 right now is a massive X factor. Mm-hmm. Simply put, they are putting a lot of eggs in the Donte Jackson CB1 repeat performance basket from a year ago. If he continues to be what he was a year ago, ballin' secondary. And that secondary is so exciting. But if Donte Jackson kind of takes a big step back, or if he does not perform the way he did, not only does that impact the play on the field, but then you think about what that does to Chris O'Leary defense and the depth behind him, and then kind of the trickle-down effects of what happens if your CB1 isn't good. I mean, they've got money to spend. This could be a position group that they spend it on, regardless of if Donte Jackson is great or not. But right now, they need Donte Jackson to be a very good CB1.
If we would have had,
who else is a good CB1 with if it's not him on this team? Like, honestly, you could say Cam Hart, that's a jump. You can say Tarheeb Still, that's not his role. You can say Elijah Molden, not his role. Nico Reed, Eric Rogers, whoever you want. I like the group in totality, but they do not have top-tier talent at this position if it's not Donte Jackson. You could argue they don't have it with Donte Jackson.
But it works for what they do best, Dan.
Of course.
And do you remember, because go all the way back to last year free agency when the Chargers brought in Donte Jackson, Benjamin St-Juste. There were some people that were not happy about it whatsoever because of what their production had been the year prior. Didn't look good. Wasn't some of the top level corners that you had seen in free agency. Not a lot of people that the Chargers ended up wanting. But what did Donte Jackson do in a zone coverage that, in terms of what his stats were and what was his bread and butter and what he had the best production at? It was in zone coverage. And you went into a Jesse Minter defense. Again, let's give the flowers to Steve Klingscale. This is what he did, just for a reminder for people. Allowed a 56.3 passer rating when he was targeted. 4 interceptions, 12 passes defended. He had a terrific year for the Chargers. Was undoubtedly, if we're going to label anything as a cornerback one, Donte Jackson was it last year. If we had this same topic of the pod, say back in February, just to say, okay, year in review, Benjamin St. Juste was a huge contributor essentially as a CB3. And in a guy in a rotational spot for when he had to step in, Benjamin St. Juste also had great production last year. So again, it's the system that really showed and flexed its muscle for guys like Donte Jackson last year. But there's no question when Dan kind of rattled off that list, I mean, who's the biggest standout, not just from the standpoint of production, but what you can rely on in this secondary unit, especially right now, since we're talking about it just being this group of the names that we have talked about. The Chargers did not sign anybody in free agency. They didn't draft a player at the cornerback position. There's obviously a lot of confidence, not only in the players that they have, but Steve Klinkscale as a secondary coach. Again, could all that change in the next couple months? Yes, 100%. But in terms of to the secondary in general, we talk about the Derwins, we talk about the Tony Jeffersons. Donte Jackson should be in that conversation as one of the most important players to the secondary.
Yeah, and in a play that, not mentioning Donte Jackson, but a player that I think could take that St. Juste role that no one's really talking about is Dean Leonard.
Interesting.
Dean Leonard has the frame. He's big, he's long, he's athletic, he's fast. He's got the special teams under his belt as well. I can see, and again, Dean Leonard's been kind of plagued with injuries as well, so I can totally see Dean Leonard stepping up in that role. But it's also a roster bubble battle that he has his hands here as well.
Yes, it is.
Jake, I'm going to let this slide because I love you. But one of the guys that you put on this list, I even texted you about it. I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
The whole tight end?
The whole freaking tight end room.
The whole defense I'm putting on this list.
Is it a cop-out? No,
Yeah.
and I'm going to explain why.
Yes,
I'm going to explain why right now. Because the last time that a tight end was relevant to Justin Herbert that actually made consistent production, was Hunter Henry back in 2020. How many times have we been talking about since the days of Hunter Henry leaving about two tight end sets? Oh, you've got two tight ends that can do this now, and it never ends up coming to fruition. Super stoked about the future for Rondé Gadsden. Dan, that's your cash in. You were the biggest cheerleader for him when the Chargers selected him two years ago, and that started paying off in spades. But, I mean, again, even for Rondé Gadsden, they didn't even really utilize him in the first part of the year. That was a ramp-up period for him. And then everything finally get it going. Remember his dad came in and talked about how superstitiously he did not put his son into his fantasy football team because he didn't want to jinx it. But Dan, it's how the tight ends are going to be utilized in this room. So call it a cop-out if you wish.
It is. It's a cop-out.
I don't care, because to have three guys in this particular system for Justin Herbert, for guys who can impact the game in both the blocking and the pass catching. I mean, Dan, Rondé Gadsden, great athleticism. You've seen the flashes of how he was able to impact in the offense last year. You go out and you get David Njoku that you're hoping that you capture the David Njoku of 2 years ago. Not last year, but 2 years ago. And essentially to have him as fringe tight end 1, tight end 2, that ain't bad. And Charlie Kolar is going to be utilized a hell of a lot more in the pass game than I think people realized. And hell, you could even throw Alec Ingold into this conversation. Even though he's a fullback,
Sure.
he was used at tight end more than he was in Miami last year.
I'm getting a Chargers jersey on the back. I was going to put the whole tight end room.
The whole tight end group.
Put the whole tight end room on the name.
This position in general is going to be an X factor for them. And much like I made the argument that you could say that, you know, when Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are healthy, that they're the best tandem right tackle, left tackle in football. Name me a tight end group that you have that's 3 deep that has this capability for any other roster right now.
I know.
I'll wait.
I'm still going to put it on you. Of the 3, Who's the biggest X factor?
The whole tight end room. The whole tight end room. If you're wanting me to lean in a direction, I still have Ronde Gadsden being tight end 1. That's how I see it. But goddamn, is this team going, or is this group going to contribute in a big, big way in this offense?
I might go Charlie Kohler. Because
some people believe that.
Because the Chargers team has a ton of weapons to spread the ball around. They got a quarterback who doesn't care. As long as you're open, he's throwing it to you. He was throwing to Scott Matlock, and he was throwing to Tucker Fisk, and he's thrown to dudes who wouldn't be starting on anybody's roster. But what he has not had is anyone who can block and protect him, both him and the running game. And so give me what we thought Will Dissly was going to be last year. Throw in some sprinkles of athleticism and some explosive plays, sure. But if you could just give me a Charlie Kohler, who, like an Alec Ingold, you feel his presence, you see his impact on the run game or pass protection, to me, that's more important than him catching 40 balls this season. If he... how do I say this? If he lives up to his contract that he was given by the Chargers team, that'll be a sight for sore eyes. This Chargers team has been so sorely missing that type of player, like him / Alec Ingold, right? Like those glue guys on offense. Name me those guys in the past. Who have been your glue guys that have been the best friend of running backs and quarterbacks? That's not an offensive lineman. Like who's that?
If I just gave you the tight end group of the last 2 years, so take out a Ronde Gadsden because we knew that he was the one bright spot getting drafted in the 5th round last year. It was Will Dissly. It was Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin. That Tucker was your 3. Yeah, Tucker Fisk when he was utilized. Okay.
Scott Matlock.
There you go. You go the year before. It was Will Dissly, Stone Smart, Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst. Tucker Fisk was also utilized in there as well. Dan, you remember the Jared Cook days?
I love those days for a minute.
Remember him though. Remember how we always thought that it was like, okay, 2 tight end sets in the red zone. You've got these 2 guys that are pass catching tight ends. You're going to be able to create so many mismatches with them. Fuck no. Fuck no. 2023 might be the closest thing that you had to having contributing tight ends. However, it just never came to fruition and they weren't utilized that. You have Jared Everett, Donald Parham, Stone Smart. That may be the closest that you have in terms of a group overall contributing.
I like Gerald Everett, man.
It was also the last year that Trey McKitty was on the roster.
Jeez. But so that's what I'm saying. Like, they have not had those glue guys. And maybe Gerald Everett was kind of like that. And he was not necessarily like a pass protector, but he was a glue guy for sure. But they haven't had one like an Alec Ingold meant to Miami or like a Charlie Kohler has meant to Baltimore. Like, they just haven't had that. They've tried. Just hasn't come to fruition. Jake, I think there's one guy left as we're wrapping this thing up. And we haven't really talked about any interior defensive linemen. Tom Telesco's worst draft pick was Trey McKinney. I'll never forget sitting at your house when that selection was made, and the looks of us in that room was priceless. Last one, Jake. I'll give you the floor for this one. You saw incredible leaps first year. People were talking crap when he was drafted and how high he was, and it was a reach and all that, and that was put to bed real quick. But year 2, Jamaree Caldwell. Talk about it.
Yeah. It was on our breakout candidates list as well. If you got a chance to catch Benjamin Solak's piece last week about breakout candidates for 32 teams. Benjamin Solak listed Jamaree Caldwell in that list as well. So a lot of expectations as it relates to what Jamaree Caldwell is going to bring to this team. In terms of X factor, I think you're going to see Jamaree Caldwell kind of take over the role that Deshaun Hand had as the pass rushing defensive lineman that you had. You bring back Tierra Tart, who can do great things as it relates to the run game and getting after the quarterback at times. You bring in Dalvin Tomlinson, who's obviously just a mammoth of a human being. You're hoping that he gets back to what his game used to look like 2 years ago, but he's strictly going to be used to clog those running lanes and being able to impact the run game. But Jamaree Caldwell, I think, is in a prime position as far as you look at the rest of the guys that are behind your starters, who's going to really come in and impact this group, whether or not Jamaree Caldwell ends up, say X amount of snaps that he gets. I'm telling you right now, he's going to make the most of them. And whether we're talking about his impact against the run or getting after the quarterback, him and along with Justin Eboigbe, I think are going to be very tangible pieces to this defensive line, especially when we're talking about their impact in the pass rush game. And I think Jamaree Caldwell for year 2 is going to do those in spades as it relates to how he's going to come in and impact, this defensive line. You saw the flashes of it last year about how he was able to contribute. Now getting a full complement of snaps, a bigger role in this defensive line behind veterans like Tierra Tart and Dalvin Tomlinson. I have full confidence that Jamaree Caldwell is going to take a big step up for year 2.
We had a lot of names here. This was fun. And again, we went through names that were both the obvious, but also the underrated and undervalued. But the linchpins of this Chargers team not named Justin Herbert. No, we didn't talk about Khalil Mack or Lad McConkey or
Derwin James.
There's some obvious ones, right? Like, we know that. But I think the thing that needs to get talked about more is the guys who make this team hum, who aren't making break the bank bucks. Because that's the glue type stuff this Chargers team has been missing. And those are the X factors that Chargers teams need in order for this team to be successful. This is the fun one. What's it say? Chupacabra farts. I'm already disappointed in the DL room. I wanted Tart to officiate the Swift-Kelsey wedding and didn't pull through.
He didn't get invited, unfortunately. He wasn't part of the clientele invited to Madison Square Garden.
No, he did not. Jake, this was fun. Good call on you. This is your idea. Love biggest X factor as we went sideways on a few different ones because some of them deserve tangents, and that's what we're here for. It's July 15th. We're really, really, really drawn.
The World Cup is about to end. Basketball is done. Hockey's done. Baseball is, if you're a baseball fan, that's totally fine. But is it? It's a 162 game season.
You sound like a Padres fan.
Don't ask, okay?
I'm with you. Look, I get it.
Don't ask.
I get it.
It's kind of more of the reasons of why I look at football as literally the best sport that's in the country. And I'll say that because, especially after hearing some of the comments from the ACC kickoff and them talking about expanding the college playoff to 24 teams, you're just taking the value away from what makes football games so valuable during the season. Like, you can't give an invitation to everybody. It just makes the regular season worthless. You just can't do it. So we are clamoring for football to return.
Trophies.
Exactly, Dan. We're clamoring for football to return. I can't wait. It's obviously getting dark in my room. It's time to go.
It's almost as dark in your room as it is in your soul. So that is our time.
It's pretty close. I didn't want to get up in the middle of the pod to go turn on the light over there. So I decided to kind of chance it because I could see the sun setting right outside my window over here. So the more and more I've watched the pod, I'm like, okay, shit. Time's getting away from me. We need to wrap this thing up very soon.
Set at the Hefner residence.
Yes, but no, thank you so much for everyone joining tonight. Obviously, Random Wednesday, but a great topic to talk about. Happy to engage with you all on it because, again, this was such a fun topic to talk about that literally you can go a million different ways in it in terms of who you believe is going to come in and be an X factor contributor to this football team this season. But lots to be excited about. Training camp is a week and a half away from opening, Dan. Few weeks away from opening to the public. Guarantee you Dan and I will be down there, especially in August. So we'll be looking forward to seeing everyone when the gates finally open. Dan Wolkenstein, by all means, take us out.
I'm hungry.
Okay.
I'm tired.
So am I.
Let's go eat. Guys, gals, children of all ages, thank you so much for tuning in to Chargers Unleashed. It's been super fun. For Jake, I'm Dan. I'm hungry. We're out. Talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.